Well, hello again, everybody. As you see me exiting the Philharmonic Hall here in Liverpool. I'm just crossing Hope Street, which will give me views of both the Anglican Cathedral in the south and the Metropolitan Cathedral in the north. And hopefully you can see the Philharmonic Hall behind me, which is Art Deco 1930s building. Hope Street is an incredibly busy thoroughfare. You can see up to the north the Metropolitan Cathedral. And as we wait to cross the road here, you can see just over the road the Philharmonic dining rooms, one of Liverpool's landmarks, and one of not many public houses / restaurants where ladies are able to have a look inside the gentlemen's toilet facilities. And that's because they are original Victorian facilities with lots of original tiles and brasswork, copper pipes, you name it. So we're heading north along Hope Street towards the Metropolitan Cathedral. I'll find somewhere quiet to rest up. Well, I do try and bring you out and about with me. Fabulous inside, and I may well try and do some interiors today with just the 12 to 50 handheld. Obviously, lighting in there is not particularly good, but we'll see what we can do. A quick trip around the interior of the Metropolitan Cathedral in Liverpool. Cathedral of Christ the King, to give it an alternative name. And its local nickname is Paddy's Wigwam. I think the design gives credence to that nickname, really. But a fabulous building. I've taken some interiors, and when I get back home, we'll talk in a bit more detail about why I like the 12 to 50mm lens. So I'll see you there. Well, here we are, back at base, as they say. The 12 to 50, which, as everybody knows by now that watches the channel, will know that it is my go-to lens. I could have opted for the 12 to 40, the 2.8 Pro lens. There are a couple of reasons why I didn't go down that route, and I'd rather be upfront and honest with you. The biggest hurdle for me to get over was the price difference. It's roughly twice as expensive as the 12 to 50. It's one of the lenses that everybody is supposed to get if they're getting serious with their Olympus Micro Four Thirds outfit. Now, that's fine. I do have to work to a budget, and apart from the price, there are a couple of other reasons why I went for the 12 to 50, and also why you might consider the 12 to 50 as opposed to its more expensive and more highly regarded cousin, the 12 to 40. It is also pretty much half as heavy. It's roughly half the weight of the 12 to 40. A professional photographer's point of view, the biggest single difference really, there's a slight difference in focal range, but it's nothing to shout about. The biggest difference is the fact that the 12 to 40 is constant aperture of f2.8, whereas the 12 to 50 is 3.5 to 6.3. For me, that is not an issue at all. Partly because of the kind of photography that I do, which is more often than not outdoors in daylight. I do make use of the in-body image stabilization, of course, which is great to have. And the other main difference between the two lenses, for me, and this is my opinion, is the macro facility, which, you know, we shouldn't really call it macro, but the close focusing facility. Both lenses do offer a close focusing facility, and they're roughly about third life size, I think. There's not a great deal of difference between the two, but the big difference between the two lenses, from my point of view, if I do want to do close-ups, is the fact that this lens, the 12 to 50, has a dedicated macro button on the side of the lens. I'll put some close-ups for you to illustrate it. And all you do is push that in and slide the zooming ring to the front, and you are then in macro mode, close focusing mode. Now the good thing about that is that it limits the focusing range of the lens. So unlike the 30mm macro, which I was talking about recently, where if that misses focus, then it has to hunt quite a long way before it will focus back and lock on to the subject. Because the focusing in macro mode on this lens is limited, it means that it's quicker to find focus when you are in macro mode. Okay, so I find that very useful. From a videographer's point of view, the other plus point about this lens is the fact that it has power zoom. So it's power zoom as well as manual, and you simply activate whichever you wish by moving the zoom collar back either one step, which puts it into, which one is that now? That's the electronic zoom, power zoom, and then all the way back we'll put it into manual zoom. So it's horses for courses. If you're a videographer, the power zoom is great, it's really smooth, and you can vary it very easily just by the slightest touch on the zoom ring. It will speed up or slow down accordingly. Very useful. And I do use it even in stills photography, to be honest with you. At the front of the lens you have a manual focusing ring, which of course is electronically controlled. It will spin and spin and spin, there's no end stops to it. And there is no manual aperture control on the lens. That again is done electronically from the body of the camera. It's not weather sealed. It does come with a metal lens mount, and it does have a very fine gasket at the back end of the lens mount. So there's a little bit of weather protection at this end of the lens, but it's not weather sealed in the same way that the 12 to 40 Pro lens is. That's supposed to be waterproof and dust proof and everything proof, basically. Again, from a personal point of view, this lens is considerably smaller than its larger professional cousin, and it doesn't trombone when you zoom. The zooming and focusing is internal. If you are a lover of excuse me, polarizing filters and accessory filter holders that fit on the front of the lens, the front of the lens does not rotate with focusing, so it's very useful from that point of view. Not so important for me because I don't use external add-on filters apart from a 10-stop neutral density which I've recently obtained. So the images that you will have been seeing while I've been waffling on are all taken with this lens over the past 2 months, I would say. There are some from the inside of the Metropolitan Cathedral, which you had a very quick tour around. The ones of the blue glass, it's a modern building and the stained glass in there is very modern as well, as you can appreciate. There are 2 shots of the blue glass. The one showing the wider perspective is with the normal zoom setting, and then the one with the close-up is in macro, so that gives you an idea there. I've also put in a couple of shots to show you the range of the lens outside St George's Hall in Liverpool with the statue figure on horseback. So one shot will show you the wide view, second shot will show you it zoomed in. The beauty of a lens like this, I mean, professional photographers have always regarded a 24-70 ish full frame equivalent lens as being, you know, the bee's knees. The advantage is that it gives you a wide enough shot for practically all purposes, but at the same time it gives you that short telephoto which will allow you to home in on certain aspects of your subject depending on what you're into, and I just find it an absolutely brilliant addition to my camera bag. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be without the 30mm macro. If I want to do intentional true macro shots, there's no substitute. That lens is just brilliant. I also have the 40-150 zoom, which, if you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that I'm essentially more of a wide angle photographer than a telephotographer. That's another reason why this lens is so good for me. But the 40-150 doesn't get very much use. But all these examples that you're seeing on screen hopefully will demonstrate to you the flexibility of the lens. I mean, the ones in the park of the very ancient Allerton oak, it shows you, I think I've got a shot taken through the railings which shows you the tree, which is so old that all the branches are now supported by steel uprights. You can go from that shot to a close-up of the lichen on one of the branches very, very easily with this lens. It's just so versatile. So it's the poor relation of the 12-40 Pro, but for anybody looking for a compact multi-purpose lens, let's be honest, who doesn't need low light ability, then I would strongly recommend you think about this lens, because it's roughly half the price of the 12-40 Pro. If you don't need the weatherproofing side of it so much, then you know it's certainly a very competent performer. I have no complaints about the lens quality. Image quality is great. There's not too much vignetting. There's a little bit of chromatic aberration, but nothing untoward, and certainly nothing that can't be removed in post. I just think it's a really, really good lens, well worth considering. And I'm glad I went for this as opposed to the 12-40. That's about it with regard to my feelings on this lens and my sort of review, if you want to call it a review. Next time, anybody who has an interest in manual focus legacy lenses, please take a look at the video I'm going to be producing over the next week or so, courtesy of my friend Dexter and his boss Nick at During the Meanwhilest. We're going to give away not one but two Canon FD lenses. One is the 35-70 Canon FD zoom lens, which I've already reviewed, and the other lens is a beautiful and equally immaculate 135-35 telephoto lens, which is the one with a built-in lens hood. It's absolutely spotless. Nick has kindly provided this to me. The two lenses, by the way, are going to be paired up with a Canon FD to micro four thirds adapter mount. So if you have any micro four thirds camera body, these two lenses will come ready to use on your micro four thirds camera, whether it be Olympus or Panasonic. So look out for that video in the next week or so. In the meantime, I hope everybody is safe and well and enjoying their photography. Take care. Bye bye for now.